What if I told you the money didn't disappear? You just handed it to someone else. While the market crashed, the rich were quietly catching everything you dropped. This isn't a recession, it's a transfer of power. And if you don't understand how it works, you're not just losing wealth, you're fueling theirs. Stick around, because once you see where the money really goes, you'll never look at your bank account the same way again. Let's kick this off with something crazy. You didn't lose your money in the crash because it was never actually real. Sounds wild, right? But here's the part nobody tells you. Most of the wealth that disappears during a recession, it's not stolen, it's not burned, it's imaginary, not fake, just built on belief. Like Monopoly money everyone agreed was valuable until someone flipped the board. Take the 2022 market crash. Trillions vanished in a single week, but there weren't any robbers. No vaults were emptied, no cash bonfires lighting up the sky. So what happened? Simple. People stopped believing. They saw headlines, inflation, layoffs, chaos, and thought, wait, maybe this isn't worth what we hoped. And just like that, value collapsed because money, real money, isn't solid. It's a story. Your $20 bill, just paper. Your savings, numbers on a screen. The only thing holding it together is trust. And when trust cracks, everything else falls. Picture this. You're at a party. Everyone's laughing, pouring drinks, trading crypto monkey pics. Then someone coughs. Someone else checks the market. Panic spreads. People sprint for the exits. And suddenly, those NFTs, worthless. Not because the image changed, but because the belief died. And here's the twist. This isn't just crypto or stocks. It's your home, your job, your bank account. All of it floats on confidence. Lose that. And no one needs to steal from you. Your brain does it automatically. All right, now we know money is just belief wearing a fancy suit. But what happens when everyone stops believing at the same time? The economy doesn't just crash, it freezes. In good times, money flows like traffic on a freeway. You grab lunch, the restaurant pays the chef buys groceries, the store pays the supplier, and the cycle keeps humming. That flow? It's called the velocity of money, and it's what makes the whole system feel alive. But in a recession, that same $20 bill gets locked in your pocket. You don't spend it. The restaurant never sees it. The chef's hours get cut. The grocery store loses a customer, and the supplier shuts down a truck. Now that highway, it's gridlocked. Every car stalled. No one is moving, everyone waiting for a green light that never comes. And when money sits still, businesses freak out. Why? Because their entire model runs on movement. No sales means no rent. No rent means layoffs. Layoffs kill spending. And just like that, the loop spirals down. Now here's where it hits home. Even if your account still shows a number, it starts to shrivel. Not because it's gone, but because it's stuck. Like water trapped in old pipes, stagnant money corrodes from the inside. And who gets hit first? The people on the edge. The ones living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't some textbook chart. It's a half-empty fridge, a gas tank you can't afford to fill, a calendar filled with stress, not opportunity. And the cruel irony? Most folks think saving is the smart move. But in the next part, you'll see why that idea might be slowly draining your future. So the economy's frozen, money's not moving. What do most people do? They slam the brakes and park their cash in savings accounts, bonds, or money market funds. Feels smart, right? Calm, safe, responsible. But here's the catch. That safe parking spot? It's a slow-motion money shredder. Let me explain. When the world gets shaky, people stop spending and start stockpiling. They move their cash into low-yield accounts to wait it out. The thinking is, at least I'm not losing anything. But they are, just quietly. Thanks to a little monster called inflation. Imagine this. You've got $10,000 in a basic savings account earning 0.5%. Inflation is running at 4%. Congrats! Your money is losing 3.5% a year in purchasing power. It's like locking your paycheck in a freezer that slowly melts it into nothing while giving you a thumbs up. And most people don't notice until it's too late because the number on the screen stays the same. But it buys less and less. You're not being robbed by a burglar. You're being bled by a spreadsheet. Now look, there's a time to be cautious. Sure, but when does everyone does it? We get a massive parking lot of idle cash, trillions just sitting there, rotting. And here's the kicker, the economy only works when money moves. But instead of circulating, it gets buried in safe zones. Savings accounts, bonds, conservative funds. It's like hiding under your bed during a flood, only to realize the water's still rising. And while most folks are parked in fear, someone else is already watching and gearing up to make their move. That's what we're diving into next. This is the part nobody likes to admit, but every crash, every recession, every financial meltdown has a winner, and it's almost never the one panicking. It's the one buying while everyone else is running. Here's how it plays out. You buy a stock at $100, then panic hits. Headlines scream, you freak out and sell it for $60. That $40 loss, it didn't vanish. It went straight into the pocket of someone braver than you, someone who bought your fear and held on. When the stock climbs back to 100, they're up 40. They'll multiply that across thousands of transactions, and suddenly someone's getting rich in the middle of a crisis. Here's the kicker. It's not always a hedge fund or Wall Street shark. Sometimes it's a teacher with a savings plan, a freelancer with a steady side hustle. The one thing they all have in common, they didn't panic. Meanwhile, fear moves faster than facts. Your brain whispers, what if it drops more? What if I lose it all? What if this time is different? So people sell at the bottom, locking in losses that only feel safe in the moment. But in reality, they're handing over their future. This is how wealth moves in a recession. Not through theft, not through luck, but through fear. Because recessions don't destroy money, they transfer it from the anxious to the calculated. And if that sounds cold, wait until you see where the real money is hiding. While most people are panicking, dumping assets, and clinging to savings accounts that barely beat inflation, the rich are playing a completely different game. They're not glued to the chaos. They're repositioning, moving fast, quiet, and calculated. And where does their money go? Gold, art, dirt, stuff you can touch, stuff that feels real. Even when the rest of the economy feels like a fever dream, start with gold. It's not flashy, doesn't pay dividends. You can't swipe it at Starbucks, but it's been valuable for 5,000 years. And when the world shakes, that matters. In 2008, while markets crashed, gold soared over $7 billion in 2 years, not because it earned, but because it endured. It's not an investment, it's an anchor. Now let's talk about art, not the stuff on Etsy or framed cliches from home goods stores. We're talking about Basquiat, Monet, Picasso, vault-worthy pieces that sell for millions. In the middle of the 2008 crash, Yves Saint Laurent's collection pulled in nearly $500 million at auction. That's not ego, that's strategy. Then there's farmland. No hype, no hashtags, just dirt that grows food. And people always need to eat. U.S. farmland has quietly delivered double-digit returns over the last 20 years, including during economic slumps. Here's the through line. These aren't get-rich plays. They're fortresses, built for safety, preservation, and control. While everyday folks are watching numbers vanish off screens, the wealthy are holding tangible power or burying it underground. But here's the twist. They're not just protecting what they have, they're hunting for more. So here's where it gets a little ruthless. While most people are scrambling to survive the downturn, the ultra-wealthy are shopping. Because of a recession, it's a giant clearance sale. Office buildings collapsing under debt, snatched up. Companies bleeding cash and missing payroll. Bought for pennies on the dollar. That trendy condo building with empty units. It just became someone's once-in-a-lifetime steal. This isn't a conspiracy. It's precision warfare. Private equity giants, cash-loaded corporations, billionaire investors. They don't flinch. They wait for blood in the water. They've got liquidity, cash locked and loaded, and they strike when fear paralyzes everyone else. Think Blackstone, Berkshire Hathaway, Apollo Group. They're not playing defense. They're playing Monopoly in real life. And the reason they can do this is simple. They planned for it. They didn't blow it all during the boom. They built war chests. So when the storm hit, they weren't scared. They were ready to buy the wreckage. It's like pulling up to a yard sale with a suitcase of cash, while the owner's too stressed to think straight. And then what? The economy bounces back, because it always does. And those once broken assets, now worth 10 times what they paid. The rich don't just recover, they expand. But this isn't even the final destination, because all that money eventually flows to one place. And it's not a hedge fund, not a billionaire. It's something much, much bigger. Everything we've covered, the fear, the freezing, the panic selling, the billionaire bargain hunting, It all leads here. The capital gravity zone. This isn't a product. It's not a stock. It's a destination. And only a microscopic group ever gets to live there. We're talking about the 0.01%. Not influencers, not tech bros, not even self-made millionaires. We're talking about dynasties, families whose wealth didn't start yesterday. It started generations ago. The Waltons, the Al Nayans, the Al Thanis, the Hermes family. These aren't survivors of recessions. They're consumers of them. They don't flinch. They don't refresh stock apps every hour. They own the companies you're checking. They don't plan in quarters. They plan in centuries. Their wealth isn't sitting in checking accounts or crypto wallets. It's tied up in ownership, supermarkets, energy pipelines, fashion empires, land, logistics, media, food supply chains. When recessions hit, they move like chess masters. They scoop up what's broken, reinforce what's theirs. And by the time recovery comes, they don't just bounce back, they own even more. Here's some perspective. Back in 1997, the Walton family was worth $27 billion. After multiple downturns, they're now sitting on over $430 billion. That's not luck, that's strategy. They prepared for disaster and made billions from it. And here's the hard truth. If you don't understand where money flows during a crash, you're not just losing wealth, you're donating it to them. So ask yourself, will you sit still and watch your value vanish? Or will you learn the rules of the game and start playing to win? Let's bring it home. You didn't lose money, you lost belief. When fear takes over, money stops moving. And that's when the game shifts. While most people freeze, the bold buy the dip. The rich, they don't panic. They reposition. They move into gold, art, land, then scoop up broken assets like they're on sale. And the top 0.01%, they don't just survive recessions, they own the aftermath. But now you know how the system works, so when the next crash hits, and it will you sit there waiting for someone to save you? Or will you move before the rest even see it coming? If this lit a fire in you, smash that like button. It tells the algorithm this message needs to spread. Subscribe if you're done watching from the sidelines. And drop ready in the comments if you're gearing up to make your next move, because in every downturn, someone walks away with the bag, and it might as well be you. See you in the next one.